Hello and welcome to my first attempt at capturing and publishing an indoor race as I look to develop the Team Cymru Velo. We will look to publish regular races from across a number of different platforms, including Zwift, RGT, and a new, exciting and potentially game-changing platform called Indie Velo. But today, as you can see, we're on the Zwift platform. I'll talk about the route that we've got in store today as we head into the first lap, but it's always key to point out that as you can see the timer heading down towards zero and the banner drops, that you need to ramp your power up quite sharply to make sure that you're kind of catapulted out of the start pens. So as the timer hits zero there and the banner drops, you can see me doing, I think I went up to 645 watts there, just to make sure that you're not left behind. I was the first rider out of the pen, so it was just a case then of kind of modulating your power just to stay in the draft of those riders. It's a little bit difficult to do early on, but just as that group kind of swarms around, backing off the power, and then as they swarm me, just picking it up again, picking it up to catch on to the draft of some of those passing riders. We just headed through the opening banner there on the lead in, and as you can see, the power-ups in store for today were either the invisibility ghost or the feather. I'm not really interested in invisibility today. I'd much rather the feather is going to be much more useful on this course, so I just chose to kind of burn the ghost out there, knowing that there's another opportunity to pick up a feather at the next banner. So the course we've got in store today, it's stage 2 of the Zwift Racing series, and for the month of July they're focusing on sort of Seaside type courses. This one's called Beach Party for the month of July, and today we're taking on 3 laps of the Seaside Sprint course. And whilst the Seaside Sprint course is on the whole quite a flat course, there's a lot of sections that are never flat and that are actually rolling. We're soon to head into the S's section here, where there's numerous kind of rollers up and down, and it also contains quite a technical finish. I was quite looking forward to racing this course, as I've recently got the new Zwift Play steering and game controllers, and I felt that the technical nature of this finish with the twists and the turns could prove a good opportunity to actually kind of put them to an effective use. And as you can see, we've got a decent sized field here with 52 riders. I mean, for the summertime, for me in the Northern Hemisphere, it's currently the summertime, and during the Northern Hemisphere summer, the attendances in races can often plummet somewhat. The new Zwift Racing series have been a really good addition to, in my opinion, a good addition to the Zwift Racing calendar, as they often seem to, even during the summer, they often seem to get quite good attendances, and you can almost guarantee that you're going to have a good field for a good competitive race if you sign up for one of these events. I checked Zwift Power prior to actually starting this race, just to kind of check what the standard of competition and what riders were here, and there were a number of riders who had quite a low Zwift Power ranking. There was a few who had a lower ranking than myself. So if I could put in a good performance here today, it would give me an opportunity to kind of improve that race ranking. I actually raced this course 2 days back, and during that race, I decided to actually try out using the Ghost. Just on this climb here, which is kind of almost the main feature of Seaside Sprint. It comes about 800 meters from the actual finish line. And during my previous race, I attempted to use my Ghost on the downhill and try and actually get away from the group, sort of under that invisibility cloak, and then try and sort of stay away. And to be perfectly honest with you, I made a complete hash of it. I kind of didn't really go hard enough when I activated the Ghost. It probably wasn't as effective, in all honesty, as the feather, and I just sort of I kind of limped across the line in 4th place. So it was a decent result, but it was far away from the win. So I thought I'd return today race the same stage again, but this time actually try and use the feather and then punch quite hard at the bottom of the hill using that feather to reduce my weight, my avatar's weight slightly, and then try and carry some extra speed on the downhill and hopefully stay away from the group. I am a heavier rider, kind of in that plus 80 kilo category. I'm currently at 82 kilos, so getting a little bit lighter on anywhere where the road points uphill is always going to be an advantage. So we've just come through the S's and taken on that the main technical section of the Seaside sprint route. So I've just sped the footage up here as we head down the sort of descent side of the Dirty Suppressor. I mean, those who have raced the ZRL races over the last couple of years will, some fondly, some not so, remember the Dirty Suppressor from, I think it was probably in 2021, when we actually raced up there with the original steamroller power-up that absolutely tore the fields apart. People deploying the steamroller on the dirt there really had a huge advantage during that race. So we've come on to the tarmac section, just as we're heading in towards the volcano. And there's another feature coming up here that you always need to be on this course or on any course. You need to be kind of aware of. Now, for myself, like I briefly mentioned earlier, I am a slightly heavier rider, or towards the heavier end for a cyclist, and I find it sort of advantageous that in these circumstances, when there is a feature such as a climb, personally, I'd rather push a bit harder. I mean, I'm holding over 500 watts here and kind of stay towards the front of that pack as you're going up this hill. I mean, it's quite a short hill. It's only a few hundred meters long, but for myself, I'd always prefer to kind of put in that big effort early, try and stay towards the front of the group, and then I've always got that slide-in room. If you can see up in the mini-map there on the top right, the group is really strung out. I mean, I'm in 6th position. I'm using my steering to just try and stay in the draft, or as best as I can, stay in the draft of riders in front of me. I mean, I never go to the front. If you look, I never put in so much power that I shoot off the front of the group. I'm just trying to do enough to keep myself right at the pointy end. So if any splits happen sort of in the middle of the pack or towards the back of the pack, I know that I am the right side of it. It's then just a case of easing off the power, modulating your power, and letting that group reform around you, and just trying to make sure that you are right in the guts of the pack where you've got the maximum draft. I'm just going to fast forward here into the last lap at that same point just before the volcano. Nothing of note happened on lap 2, or the rest of lap 1 and lap 2. It played out in quite a similar fashion to what you saw on the first lap there, with a strong effort up that climb just before the sprint, 800 meters from the sprint, and likewise a similar type effort just to keep myself towards the front on this rise. So for all that I said about staying towards the front on a rise like this, I actually made a bit of an error here that nearly cost me the race. I was a little bit slow in actually hitting and getting towards the front, and I found myself like in 34th place there, right at the back, and I thought I had to put in quite an effort, well over 600 watts there, just to make sure that should any splits happen, I didn't want to be the wrong side of it. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what I discussed earlier, is that it's much better to be towards the front of that group, where you're allowing yourself that little bit of slide room, rather than at the back of it and then really needing to come through it. Again, you can see in my mini map in the top right, I don't know if it does break, but there's definitely some riders that are nearly tailed off the end there. And had I stayed towards the back, potentially it was something I could have got caught out on. There's quite a lot of riders as well that have used their power up there. There was an opportunity on this banner here in the middle of the volcano to actually pick up another power up. I chose not to use my feather on that rise, even though it would have helped me slightly staying towards the front of that group. I actually chose not to use it because I wanted to guarantee that I had a feather to execute my plan right at the finale then, on that final rise. You can see there is a rider, W. Griff, who just heads off the front of the group here, and he attempts, he puts in a very good attempt actually of a breakaway. He's got a 2-second gap there, holding just over 5 watts per kilo. Myself, I found that in races, if it's within the last maybe kilometre and a half, and somebody's going to put in an effort to break away, it's potentially dangerous. Then you really have to consider whether you should chase it or not. I've personally found that in the vast majority of cases, particularly when there's a pack of this size, I mean, we're 2.5k from the finish still, and my experience of racing on Zwift is that a pack of this size would almost certainly bring that rider back, with that amount of distance remaining to the finish line. I'm just going to take this opportunity just before we head into the finale of the race here, just to discuss how I've actually found the Zwift Play controllers and how they've changed my Zwift racing experience. I mean, a lot of the talk about them has been about how you're able to pick maybe the shortest line, and that you could perhaps take an inside corner to kind of reduce the distance that your avatar has to travel. Now, for me personally, I've actually found them to be a little bit more useful in fine-tuning my pack position and just using them to kind of steer my avatar into the optimum draft position. And that I'm finding that is what I'm using them for the most. There is applications. Today's race finish is a good example of where you can use it to take the shortest line. But predominantly during the bulk of my racing experience, I'm using it to kind of pick the optimum draft position, to kind of get the most benefit, really. A few riders have started attacking, so we're 1.6k from the finish, and a few riders have gone off in pursuit of Griff. He has a 7-second advantage at this point, and I have to be honest, I was thinking he's going to be hard to bring back. It's at this point it was dangerous. Within that last kilometre and a half, riders attacking, I knew I had to follow. Yet again, I make sure that I don't go to the front of the group. There's a bit of a split here. You've got 2 riders, then there's myself and another 2 riders with the bulk of the field behind us. Again, as you can see my avatar and how I'm actually steering my avatar using those steering controllers just to stay in the wheels of those riders. So I am putting in an effort. I mean, my heart rate's 186, so I am working hard here to try and follow, but I'm also not at the front. I'm keeping myself in that draft. At this point, Griff's still got 6 seconds as we're 800 metres to go and at the base of this hill. It's here I activate my feather power up and I try to put my plan in action. It's too far for what you'd consider a all-out sprint here, so I just go with a kind of like maybe a 7 out of 10 sprint. It's going to be a long finish, peaking at sort of mid 900 watts there, and this is where you can see I actually do use the steering to steer to the left. The finish here goes round the left-hand bend, so being on the left-hand side of the road will be the shortest line. I can see Griff up the road ahead of me. But my heart rate is, it's just about to come out to 204 beats per minute. But as we enter the bridge, I realise that he is catchable. I steer slightly right to pick up a bit of his draft and kick again. Just passing him 100 metres from the finish line and crossing over in first place for quite a well-earned, I think, and quite a hard race victory. There's the Zwift Power results page. I think I finish 0.4 seconds ahead of the closest challenger, and my 1 minute power there is 7.5 watts per kilo, which is nearly a whole watt per kilo more than second place. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's my first attempt at making a race review. It's something that I'm looking to do more in the future. And we'll hopefully develop a bit further with some rider footage, and maybe my voiceovers become a little bit more professional as well. Thank you.